Hey everyone, it's been a little while since we had a proper catch up through a vlog episode. I've got lots to catch you up on, so let's get into it. Hi, I am Emma, also known as Wonder and Create with Emma. In my videos, I like to talk you through all the knitting and crochet projects that I've been working on, from designing my own patterns to following other people's, as well as any travel adventures I may have that are yarn related, from visiting yarn stores to knitting in beautiful places. Thanks for watching. Hello, I am on my way to XOXO Fibre Festival in North Vancouver. I'm going on my own and I always feel a bit nervous and shy about going. Like, I want to make more fibre friends, but I get very shy about it. I'm going to go. I'm not going to, tell myself I have to do something. Maybe I won't even put this in the video, I don't know, but I just wanted to share how I'm feeling because I'm sure I'm not alone. But we'll see. I'll see if I make any friends, but if not, it's still going to be a lot of nice yarn to squish. Okay, I just got back from the XOXO Fibre Festival and I wanted to update you on how I found it. Overall, I thought it was really good. Like, I love going to those things in general, just kind of seeing everyone's beautiful yarns and the little notions, and getting to kind of touch samples and see just how soft a lot of the yarn is. I did buy some stuff, but I'll show you that. I'll record that at another time. I just wanted to do this while it's fresh. So I did, I went in, as I was saying, I was feeling a bit nervous about it. And my first kind of walk around, I was feeling really anxious, and you're not obligated to have to talk or make friends for life, but for some reason I felt quite nervous. And then I went around again and I was like, you're just here to have a look around, you can make some small talk, no pressure to do anything more than that. So I walked around again, took my time a little bit more, stopped at stalls, had a good look at all the yarn and a squish, and chatted to a few of the yarn dyers and people managing the stalls, so that was nice. And then I went around again, purchased some things, I'll show you later, and then I was gonna go because I was like, oh, there were lots of tables and people sitting and knitting and crocheting and stuff, and I was like, oh, do I join them? Can I do it? And I wasn't sure. I was like, okay, I'll just go to the washroom, see how I feel. I can either go or I can brave it. So I went to the washroom, came out, and I was like, okay, just one more time, go to the table. If there's a seat there, just take a seat. You can leave after a minute to see. So I went back, and actually there were quite a few more chairs at this table than there had been when I'd walked past the previous time, so I did sit myself down. And of course everyone was super friendly. We just chatted, what we were all working on. It turned out that the people I was sitting with, most of them all knew each other, and they're from a knitting group in New West, which is unfortunately not particularly near me. But it was nice, they were very friendly and welcoming, obviously, as we kind of all are. But so I had a nice time, and it taught me, I sat with them for 20 minutes, but yeah, it taught me that I can do it, and I know I can do it, just the anxiety takes over sometimes. But also I want to join a knitting group, and I know there is one in North Vancouver, and I did sign up to go once before, but unfortunately on the day I had booked an eye test just before, didn't think anything of it, but they put drops in my eyes, my pupils were dilated, I couldn't see properly, so I was like, I don't think I can do a knit night. And then since then I've been away, and then I could have gone this month, but I was feeling a bit shy again, so I'm gonna sign up for the next one, and I will go because I do really want to make more friends in the fibre community, get to know some people in the local area would be really nice. So I just need to keep on pushing myself, and it'll all be good. But yeah, overall really nice time. I was only there for kind of an hour and a half, 2 hours. I had a really exciting ending to it, but I will talk about that when I show you all the little things I bought as well. So yeah, that was my experience of XOXO Fibre Festival. As I said, overall I think it was great. And now I just want to take a minute to show you the things that I bought, as well as something else that I got when I was there. Okay, so when I went, I probably got a little bit carried away. Not wired, I'm not filling up suitcases or anything, but I think I had in my head that I'd buy maybe 1 or 2 things, and I came away with a little bit more than that, but let me show you. So one of the first things I got was this puzzle tree sock yarn. I have bought puzzle tree yarn before, and it was really soft. I had a really positive experience with it. So when I saw that they had a stall, I knew I probably wanted to get another skein of their yarn. I really love the colourway of this. It feels very kind of Pacific Northwest in colour. The colourway is actually called Nevermore, and it's a superwash merino with nylon. And I think my plan for this one, you know, it's always a bit of a souvenir skein, these, and they end up mostly as socks. But at the table where I was knitting with the other knitters that I mentioned, one of them was crocheting a sock. They were a crocheter, not a knitter, so they were trying out crochet socks. And crochet socks is something I've been thinking about because I absolutely love knitting socks, and it had been on my mind to try and crochet one and see what that experience is like. And I saw her doing it and I kind of got inspired, and I think this yarn would look cool as a sock, so as a crochet sock, sorry. So I'm going to give it a go. I was having a look on the internet to find like a good crochet sock pattern. A Reddit thread led me to a pattern that seemed to be referenced by quite a lot of people on the Interweave website called the Ultimate Crochet Sock. It's a free one, just published on their website. So I think I'm going to give that a try with this yarn when I finish my other projects, which I'm going to get to later. There was a cool stall there. I mean, there were lots of cool stalls there, but one that I ended up purchasing from was, got the Knitting Nerds. So they rescue yarn, so either from like fibre libraries, or they'll, in thrift stores, they will unravel kind of unused sweaters they found in thrift stores or their own, I think, and wind them up and turn them back into skeins of yarn. I ended up walking away with this one. I was really drawn to the colour of it. I had in mind to look for some yarn for the baby blanket, that Stella Quilt blanket that I have previously mentioned in my fall knitting plans video. Unfortunately, I don't think it's not the right weight. It is a worsted weight, and it's 100% wool, which for the baby blanket I'm avoiding, just because as much as I love and prefer to use natural fibres, I do think for baby projects it's easier to have the acrylic yarn. It can be really soft if you get like specific ones for baby projects, and it just means for new parents they don't have to worry about hand washing it. They can just stick it in the washing machine and not have to think about it. So although this didn't fulfill my what I was looking for, and it's now just an extra nice thing to have, I really love the colour. And I also really liked that it is it's 162 grams and 434 yards of wool, which is a great amount. And I think it cost me like 20 Canadian dollars. So 100% wool, worsted weight, a good enough quantity I can make something significant with it. So I'm kind of looking forward to figuring out what that will be. And that was it for my yarn purchases, but then I made a couple of extra little additional purchases. So I picked up some stitch markers, and I got them from Calliope Fibre. Oh, that's getting blown out. I have a ring light right there because it's getting much darker now and gloomier, so the lighting isn't so good, but I'm getting used to it like blowing out images when I'm trying to show you on the camera. Yeah, so she had these really cute little stitch markers with spoons on the end. And she had a really nice sign, which unfortunately I didn't take a photo of, about the meaning behind having spoons, and how I can't even do it justice to try and remember what it said, but I really liked the sentiment, and that drew me into buying some. She was selling them as packs of 4, but actually on the day you're giving away like an extra spoon, so you got 5 stitch markers for the price of 4, which is great. And I've already been using these a lot. They're actually really great to use as like beginning of round markers. Having that like long spoon dangling down makes it like very recognisable compared to other more simple stitch markers, so really happy with those. Okay, and then the last thing I bought was not knitting related at all, but earrings from Sweet Dreams by Kiki. She had lots of beaded earrings. Maybe I'll take them out of the packet. Like hundreds and hundreds, and they're all really beautiful. Let me just get that. And because it was on the day of the Fibre Festival, it was the day before the National Truth and Reconciliation Day here in Canada. So also known as Orange T-shirt Day, and because of that she had a not promotion, but what she was doing was any earrings that were orange in colour, she was giving all the profits to Indigenous charities. So although I had already had my eye on these, that made it even more of an incentive to buy them. So really happy with these. I've worn them a lot since and have received lots of compliments, and so I've been pointing them to Sweet Dreams by Kiki for anyone that wanted to buy more, but I really recommend checking out her earrings. There are some really beautiful designs there. Okay, had to change the battery there. The battery died, so hopefully all looking good now. So they were my yarn purchases, but here's the exciting thing that happened to me. So when I entered the festival and I showed my ticket, you got given a couple of raffle tickets. One that was going to be called kind of every hour at the event, and then the other one, there was a table at the end of the room and it had a bunch of different prizes, and you could write your details on and put it in the jar next to the prize that you wanted to win, and that was going to get pulled at the end of the day, or I think it ended up being maybe a couple of days later. And I had them, and I did the raffle table of prizes, I did that, and then once I browsed around, purchased my things, had a sit and a knit for a little while, I then left and I had forgotten about the raffle being called, and I went down to sit at the water. The venue of XOXO Fibre was right by the water at Lonsdale Quay in North Vancouver, and because it was a nice day I just went to sit by the water for a little while, and then I remembered about the raffle that they were calling every hour, and I had been in the venue more than an hour, maybe an hour 30 minutes, and I was like, I don't recall them shouting a number. Maybe I didn't hear them because maybe they called it at one end of the venue and I was at the other. And because I was still really close by, like a minute walk away, I was like, well, it's really unlikely. I'm not a person that's optimistic about these things. I kind of just assume I'm not going to win. But because I was close by, I was like, well, I'll just go and ask and I'll see. So I went back in and my number had been called. I just hadn't heard it. I'm not sure what happened. So that was amazing. I did not expect it at all, but I thought I've got nothing to lose by going back in. And you got to pick, again, similar to the other raffle, they had a stack of prizes and you got to select what one you wanted to take. And oh, I love the one that I picked. It's perfect. So I'll show you them now. It's like an amazing prize. Like, it wasn't just one thing, it was 3 things. So I've just got a whole thing right here. The first thing was a box of things from, how do you pronounce that? Yucalan, the wool wash company. And it wasn't just one Yucalan, it's actually a pack of 5, but I'm already using one because, as luck would have it, I'd actually run out of wool wash and it had been on my mind that I needed to buy some. And now I have enough to last me ages. It takes me a while to even get through one of these, like 6 months to a year. So that I'm very happy with. And it came in this beautiful box. And I also got a free pen with it. Oh, what more do you want? So that was one thing. That would have been enough for me, like wool wash, always needed, cheers. It also came with this. I've also already opened up. It's going to be crinkly, I'm sorry. But this shawl kit from Crafty Jackalope. So it comes with the 2 skeins of yarn that you'll need, 2 bling balls of yarn, which you know I love already. I'd already bought these for the sequined version of my gas town top that I made in the summer for my friend's hen party. And now I have 2 more, which I can use in the shawl pattern, or maybe I could save for something else. But it came with the pattern, the Tiny Dot Shawl by Crafty Jackalope, Amanda Kafka. And it gives you 2 options in the pattern. So the kit that I have comes with 1 skein of this baby llama yarn in like a really dark navy. And then a skein of this is called Silk Harmony Estelle yarns. They're both Estelle yarns actually. It's silk, wool and cotton blended yarn in a kind of grey colour. So the 2 options in the pattern is to use like 2 skeins of this with the sequins, or 1 skein of the silk cotton blend, 1 skein of the baby llama and the sequins. And because this is the kit I have, I will be doing option A, which is 1 skein of this, 1 skein of that. I think, if I'm correct, because you have an option to do stripe or no stripe, I am, because the nature of this kit, going to do the stripes, and I think it's this dark llama that baby llama yarn that I'd be using for the stripes, and I think it would pair nicely with this sparkly. So that was great, and I will be making that. I don't know when, but it would be good to have over winter, right? So maybe I'll start shortly after my other projects. And then one more thing, because this all wasn't enough. I got this cute little clip from Pepper and Pip. Really cute little clip. It's not necessarily my style, but I do have a little niece back in the UK, so I might see if she would like it, and she might make more use of it than me. But I absolutely love it. Like, it's so beautifully made. Really cute design. So yeah, feeling very grateful that I got all those prizes, and really pleased with myself that I went to go back in and didn't just assume that I hadn't won like I would normally probably do. There was obviously something in me telling me to go back and check. So that was my XOXO Fibre experience. Good morning. Today is Thanksgiving weekend in Canada, which means it's a long weekend, and we've decided to pop into the US for the weekend. We're going to head into Washington and go to Whidbey Island, which is an island we went to before on our road trip. It's really close by to the Canadian border, so we're going to head down there just for 1 night. And I am taking some knitting with me. Let me show you what I'm planning to take. So even though we're only going for 1 night, I'm taking 3 things with me because I'm not sure what I want to work on. So I've got the Ingrid sweater. You can see I've now just got the sleeves to go, which is very exciting. I'm making another version of the downtown sock, which is my latest pattern, coming out soon. So I'll pre-cast on the 2nd sock of that. And then I've got some Erica Knight linen yarn here. I have a new design in mind for next year, so I'm going to start swatching with that maybe this weekend. Going on this road trip to Whibey Island was really special. We'd both been craving a little hit of being out and back on the road as we were last year on our Canada-US road trip, where we took a summer to go across Canada, where we drove from the west coast to the east coast, dropped down into the US, back across the west coast and up back to Vancouver. Even though we were only going for 1 night, it was a really beautiful weekend. Driving through the roads, taking the back roads through really quaint towns, scenic routes along the coast, it really fulfilled and satisfied that desire to travel again. Whidbey Island was a really unexpected destination for us last year. We just happened to find a route after visiting Olympic Park that would take us back to the mainland via a couple of islands. We then happened upon Coupeville because I had seen that there was a yarn store there. It wasn't too much of a deviation off our path, and so we popped in. And we loved it. It's so small, but there's cute cafes, a really lovely atmosphere, it's on the water, very calm. This weekend that we went was very different to the last time. We must have gone on a weekday last time, the weather wasn't so good. It was really quiet when we were here last year. It's completely different this time. The place is bustling, they're obviously ramping up for Halloween. Walking along the pier and the red stained wooden buildings really took me back to Nova Scotia, particularly Lunenburg. That calmness of being on the water, having the beautiful scenery around you, it just makes me feel really good, and I thoroughly enjoyed our walk around the town. Obviously, best of all was going back to SeaBreas yarn. This is the coziest yarn store I've ever been to. I love the vibe of it. It's just, you just want to touch everything. You want to get a chair, sit in the corner, and knit away to your heart's content. The person working in the store, whose name I didn't catch, is also really friendly and helpful. This yarn store holds a variety of yarn, from the more commercially available yarns such as the Malabrija yarn to more local hand-dyed yarn. So in this trip I did come away with a new souvenir skein of yarn. It was one that's locally dyed in Coupeville, so that when I make something with this yarn I will have memories of that place. I purchased some stock yarn, and the store owner was kind enough to offer to cake it for me, which I gladly took her up on because I don't have a hand winder yet, and manually winding yarn gets a bit tiresome, so I was very happy that she offered to do this for me. It's a beautiful red colour. I kind of love the slight variegation of it. It's very autumnal feeling. It's a sock yarn dyed by Willow on the Water, which, as I said, is local to Coupeville in Washington. It's 438 yards, 400 meters, and it's 85% superwash merino, 15% nylon. So obviously it would be great as another sock project, but I think for this I'm not going to do socks, because as much as I love making socks, I have a real hankering to do a one skein shawl scarf project. I really just think this colour would look great with a winter coat, very winter autumnal vibes. I don't have a pattern in mind yet, so if you know of any one skein shawls, scarf projects, drop them in the comments below because I'd love to see them. And if not, I'll be doing a bit of searching on Ravelry to find the perfect project. I should also note that on this trip, despite me taking those 3 projects with me, I did absolutely no knitting. We just didn't have the time. We spent all day on that Saturday driving towards Whibey Island with a few stops along the way, and then we had our evening was a bit shorter than anticipated because we couldn't find a campsite. We were very confident going there because of our experience last year at this time of year, where there had been nobody at campsites because it was getting down to the end of the season, closing down. There'd only be like 1 or 2 other cars at campsites. So we didn't anticipate a problem. We rocked up. I'd marked a few on the map because we also didn't have internet because it's the US, and we didn't have an eSIM set up or anything, because again, we're only planning to go for kind of 24, 36 hours. We got to campsite number 1. It was fully booked. Campsite number 2, not necessarily fully booked, but you had to call someone to confirm if there was a space available for you. We couldn't do that. Campsite number 3, fully booked. And this went on and on until we ended up coming off Whidbey Island and staying at a campsite that we'd driven past earlier in the day, a state park, which was really lovely, kind of tucked away a little bit. And by the time we got there at 7:30, it had just got dark, or the sun was just setting, so it was beautiful, beautiful colours. And we rocked up, we spoke to the volunteer on site, and she said that she just happened to have a couple of cancellations, so there was space for us last minute, which was great because we were at that point of last resort of, if this one doesn't work out, we're just going to head back to Vancouver because we're so close by, no need to keep driving around in the dark. It was because it was getting dark was the issue. But yeah, luckily it worked out. But all that is to say that by the time we got there, it was dark, not really knitting vibes, and then the next day we were off out early, slowly making our way back to Vancouver via brunch in Bellingham. Yeah, so I didn't do anything. So I carried it all, which is fine. There's obviously space in our mini camper van, but it's kind of disappointing that I didn't get to knit, but it was because we were having too much of a good time, so can't regret it too much. So now that I've caught you up with all of that, and I hope you enjoyed watching it and seeing what I've been up to the last couple of months, it's time to come back to the present day. It's the end of October, and I want to show you the WiPs and the FOs that I've been working on and seeing how I've progressed since that fall knitting plans video that I released about a month ago now, or maybe more. So let's get started with a project that has taken me months. If you've been here since the start, you'll know that way back in like May, I cast on the Ingrid sweater by Petite Knits. At the time, my plan was to slowly knit on it throughout the summer. That didn't happen. And I picked it back up again in kind of September time, and I've been working on it. And I'm so close to finishing. Let me grab it. Here it is. I really like it. I can't wait to wear it, but I've hit another snag. I didn't win at the yarn chicken game that I have been playing. And so I have just this almost half a sleeve at this point to go. And I've run out, which is kind of devastating, but I'm hopeful that I don't need to order yarn. Luckily, I have bought this Lion brand Fisherman's Wool in this kind of natural cream colourway a couple of times before in the past, and I do have some scraps left. I do have one abandoned project that I used this yarn with that I think if I unravel it will give me just enough to finish the project. That's this looks a mess because it's been scrunched up for about 3 years, the Hatdana project by Denise Bayram. I was making it and realised I didn't like how it was looking with this yarn, so I ended up switching it and using a different yarn and a different colour. And I loved that pattern. Go check that pattern out because it's such a stylish look when you finished it. But because I ditched this one because I didn't like how the wool and the colour was working out with what I wanted how to style it, I abandoned it. But although it's not from the same dye lot, it looks kind of, it's not different, or it's not amazingly different. So I think I'm going to unravel this. I know there's going to be an element of patience required because it's going to be sensible of me to unravel it and then wash the yarn to kind of straighten it all back out again and then wait for that to dry. So gonna be waiting a little while for this one. But yeah, I just want to finish it because right now it's kind of looking a bit scrunched up. I'm just getting ready, can't wait to kind of soak it so it all kind of blooms out and I get to wear it. Thankfully it's not actually cold enough yet here to be wearing a Aran worsted weight 100% wool sweater, but it's getting close. I have made a couple of adjustments already to this pattern because I've been trying on as I go. So for the hem, I shortened it a little bit. I think there was going to be 15 rows before you do a double knit and then bind off. I ended up doing 9 rows. I tried it on, felt like that was the length I kind of wanted it to be, kind of feeling that it might grow a little bit more once I wash it. So I stopped early and I did exactly the same for the neck. I've actually also shortened this a little bit. Again, I tried it on as I was doing it and decided I didn't want too much more up around my neck. I don't feel it suits me. So I stopped that a few rows earlier than the pattern suggested too, but yeah, just looking forward to finishing it, hoping this is going to give me enough to get there. It really is kind of just half a sleeve, maybe a little bit more at this point, so keep your fingers crossed for me. And then if you remember, I did say that there was 3 babies on the horizon for me from family and friends, and that I was going to be making the Sino Kiddo Kari by Maven Crafted. I still very much plan on doing those. But I changed one of the baby projects to be the Flax Sweater by Tin Can Knits. So this is a pattern that I have made oodles of times, especially the baby ones. I first made it as a sweater for myself, and it was one of the first sweaters I made that was actually a successful sweater. I'd made a couple before in my very early days of knitting, and they were, on reflection, a bit of a mess. And there were free patterns, and obviously there's nothing wrong with free patterns, but maybe I was not an experienced enough knitter to have enough knowledge. whereas the flax sweater is so well written, like I cannot recommend it enough. In fact, I recommend it to everyone who's looking to make their first sweater. I always point them to the flax sweater pattern because it's so easy to follow, so well written. It covers all sizes from 0 to 6 months, right up to adult male sizes. The pattern is available for free on their website, and it covers a range of wool weights. So the one that I've been using is a worsted weight one, but I believe there's also a DK weight one and a fingering weight one, I think too. But recommend checking out any of their patterns. A lot of them are available for free, which is amazing. And I am aware that they have an app which is meant to be fantastic as well. I haven't looked into that personally yet, but from what I hear, it's well worth a download. Anyway, so I ended up making one of those. Here it is. I haven't weaved in the end yet because I put that off for as long as possible. And actually this is still drying. I knitted it this week after kind of running into that wall with the Ingrid sweater. I thought, well, I may as well cast on this. I know it doesn't take very long. So this is for 0 to 6 months. And for this I used, where's the band? Okay, I don't know where the band's gone, but it's impeccable yarn from Loop and Threads that you can get at Michael's yarn store. Really cheap. Again, the same principle I was saying earlier. Having acrylic yarn for babies just makes life a lot easier. Yeah, so cute. I can't wait to hopefully see the baby I've made it for wearing it. I love this kind of tweedy, I don't know what you would call it, mild, variegated yarn. Like, I love the blend of the blues and the whites. So yeah, that's drying away. Hopefully I can get it wrapped up and mailed off soon. So yeah, still 2 more Sinner Kiddo Cardis to go. I will be using the same make of yarn for both of those, one with that exact same yarn and then another with a lilac colour yarn. I'm fairly confident I'll be able to get those done over the next 2 to 3 weeks, hopefully finish the Ingrid sweater, get those done, and then I just have one project left to go, which I'm going to get into now. So that last project from my fall knitting plans video, the one that I had definitely wanted to finish this season, was the Stella Quilt blanket by Laura Penrose. I said I was planning to make that blanket for my latest nephew, who at that time was due shortly. I'm now happy to say that he is here and he is doing very well, but he's going to have a bit of a wait for his blanket. So in August, if you watched, you may remember I was back in the UK and I ended up picking up a couple of balls of this Rico baby DK yarn in this blue colour and then in a green colour as well, and I got 2 balls of each. And I had this baby blanket project in mind when I bought those, but unbeknownst to me, I didn't realise how difficult this yarn is to get in Canada. And I don't know if it's just a timing thing and it's normally easy to get hold of, I'm not sure, but I had trouble finding it. I really wanted to have the cream colour as my base and then have the blue and the green and maybe a couple of other colours to add to the blanket. This is yarn that I've used for baby projects and baby blankets in the past. It's really lovely and soft. It is acrylic again, but it's lovely and soft, and again it's just that ease of parents being able to put it in the wash, not worry about it shrinking or anything like that. So I wanted to use this yarn. But anyway, I came back to Canada and started to look at where I could purchase more of this in the cream colour and then see what other colours were available. And I was really struggling to find anything. I was looking all across Canada on Google for Rico baby DK yarn, Canada, and I was getting Lovecrafts, you know, the bigger sites, and then also independent yarn stores. But I just kept finding that either there was really kind of either colours that I didn't want, and definitely no cream, or just one ball available, and I was getting frustrated at myself for not being like, why didn't I just buy everything then when I was in the UK? I just didn't think about it, and as I say, I don't know if it's just this particular time of year, or for some reason stocks are low. Maybe there's an issue with the supplier, maybe it's just not popular in Canada, I don't know, but I've been struggling. And I ended up finding a yarn store in Ontario that had a few like 3 or 4 balls of the yarn in cream in stock, and at this point I had kind of given up on the idea of getting other colours that I wanted and felt would go well with the green and the blue that I already bought. So I ended up getting the cream Rico yarn and then adding a couple of colours that I like the colours of, but not the same yarn, but the same weight, and kind of hoping for the best. So it took me a week to kind of get to that place where I was like, okay, I'm just going to settle with this. What will be, will be. And then I ordered the yarn, paid for it, and then the next day I got an email from the yarn store to say they're really sorry, they actually don't have that many balls of the Rico DK, they only have 1 ball, which was disappointing, but at this point I kind of just felt like, okay, whatever, this blanket, I want to make it, we'll figure it out. And they did kindly offer to replace it with some other yarn that was similar weight, similar colour, and so we went with that. Fine, that's all right, it's going to happen, it'll still be good, you know, it's not what I initially set out for, doesn't mean it's going to be bad, we'll see what happens. I knew because it was coming right from Ontario, it was going to take at least a week to get over to the west coast. The mail is not particularly quick here in Canada, obviously it's a big country, I know, but mail is quite slow. So a week went by, had the tracking number from Canada Post, and I did see that it landed here in BC, and I was like, oh great, it's going to come fairly quickly, like less than 2 weeks, perfect, looking forward to getting on with it. But then a couple of days later, it hadn't moved from the kind of like mail centre. A day after that, it was back in Ontario at another location, not the one that it had started in. And I was like, okay, maybe that's just an admin error, let's see what happens. And then it just kind of stayed there. Then it came back to BC again. I was like, I don't know what's happening. And I tried to contact Canada Post. They eventually got back to me and said that they can't look into it because I'm not the sender, so I should contact the sender. I did that. In the meantime, days were passing. It came back to BC. It went away again back to Ontario. I was like, I think this parcel is missing at this point, but let's see. And kind of getting disappointing, so I was like, this feels like it was my last hope to get the yarn for this blanket. And now this parcel's gone missing. Is this a sign I'm not going to make this blanket? But I contacted the yarn store again and said, like, I'm really sorry, don't know if you can see anything different your end, but this parcel seems to be bouncing around the country and I'm not sure, I can't get anything from Canada Post. They contacted Canada Post, I don't even think they got a response, but they could see the same as me. So I'd kind of given up. It then did come back to BC again, and it sat there for a few days, and I was like, well, I just feel like it's missing. Like, it's been 4 weeks now, I give up. But then randomly last week, one morning at home, got a notification, your package is out for delivery. And I was still like, well, it did say this once before and it didn't happen, but I still had like a positive feeling, even though it wasn't really logical to. But it did turn up, like, amazing. So I don't know what happened to it for the month. I don't know if it was traveling back and forth across the country. Who knows where it's been, but I was very happy to finally receive it, as was the yarn store. So thanks a lot for them for their support. It was the wool mill, I didn't mention that, I don't think. The wool mill in Ontario. Big shout out to them because they were very helpful all throughout, from the ordering to the mailing. So last night I finally got to cast on the Stella Quilt blanket. It took me a little while reading the pattern to kind of get my head around how it was all going to come together with the motifs. So in the pattern you make one motif at a time, and there are lots of individual squares, much like a quilt. Let me show you actually, because let's not get too excited of where I've got to. I've done 2 squares. But yeah, so you make individual squares, but you make your base square, which is like one corner of the a motif, and then you work the next square by joining straight away, which is kind of great. You know, all the granny square blankets I've made, that pain of having to join all the squares together at the end. Although this is quite fiddly, it will take away that kind of painful end bit where you just want to have the blanket and you don't want to spend hours seaming them all together. So the pattern, it's really well written and it gives you so many modifications, so much guidance. But basically there's 4 different sizes it offers that you can make. So like a square, a kind of lap blanket, a square throw blanket, a rectangular throw blanket. For a baby size, I'm going to be making the square one, and that's kind of 4 motifs, I think. And you just make one motif. You can make them all the motifs separately and then join them together at the end. But I think there's also instructions of how to just join them all as you go, and no seaming at the end required. So we'll see. I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet. I'm still kind of getting my head around it. But I already think it's quite an addictive pattern to make. I started it late last night, and as much as I wanted to continue, it's getting quite late, and I thought I should probably go to bed rather than keep knitting. Yeah, I've started it. I don't really have the vision of the colour combinations, how I want it all to be laid out. So I really need to think about that before I carry on, because the next square will inform whether I'm picking another colour, sticking with the same colour and having one motif or one colour. I'm really not sure yet, but I highly recommend this pattern so far, just simply because of all the guidance it gives you. Like, it's really thoroughly thought through, all the modifications you can think of. It even has like a blank canvas at the end so you could colour in and plan out your blanket. I love it. I'm already thinking I want to make a cushion, I want to make a throw for myself. Yeah, it's really, really great. Can't recommend it enough. So there are all my projects. As you can see, compared to my 4 knitting plans, I'm really kind of ticking along, and that's why I'm hopeful that I am still going to have time in this season, kind of late towards the end of the year into the new year, to make some of those other fun projects that I'd identified both in the knitting plans and the crochet plans. Plus I now want to make this shawl with the yarn I got from Coupeville. So watch this space. I'll obviously be keeping you updated. Oh, and actually one more thing. Next week is the release of my downtown socks pattern. You may have seen them before if you've been watching here, but these are inspired by city skylines. They are a great stash busting project for those scrappy bits of yarn that you have left over. The colourway of these are perfect for that. The pattern is available in adult sizes. It's kind of worked in the round, cuff down. I give some guidance to modification for foot length, etc. It's currently in testing, and some of the testers have finished already, and I love seeing the colour combinations that people have picked. Some very autumnal themes, some fun. That's one of my favourite bits of the testing process, seeing all those coming together. But yeah, the pattern is going to be released next Friday. If you want to stay up to date with that and not forget, the best thing to do is sign up to my newsletter. Subscribing to my newsletter also means that you'll get an exclusive discount when the pattern is released. So if you needed an incentive, let that be it. And it's going to be my last pattern release of the year, and then I'll start working away on my new designs into 2025. Thank you for watching. I know this was a bit of a bumper episode, but let me know what you've been working on in the last couple of months since I did this my last vlog episode. And please give this video a like if you enjoyed it. It would really help with the engagement, and obviously if you wanted to comment, share any patterns you've seen, give me some shawl pattern suggestions, please do so, and don't forget to subscribe so you get notified for more videos from me. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.